Hey guys, my name's Justin and welcome to Healthboro, where we care about the design behind designer luxury. And if you do too, make sure to subscribe. I don't know what that was. So for today's video, I thought it would be good for us to have another moment of reflection, where we take a look at the past year. And then that gives me the opportunity to talk about what my favorite runway moments from 2022 are. So these runway moments I'm going to talk about, they don't necessarily have to do with the clothes or accessories, although I think most of the time they do, but they could also be about like something that happened during it, or just kind of the general concept of it, or even just about what comes next. I think that's just an interesting way to look at it because, you know, everyone has their own personal taste, but then let's talk about what's exciting and what has happened over this past year. I feel like 2022 was a great year for runways. There was just a lot of great stuff that came out, whether it's just conceptual or the actual like product that came from it. There's just a lot of interest. I feel like talking about it is going to help us like process our emotions towards it, and it's going to make us better. First off, if you are familiar with my channel at all, you know I am a very Loewe forward person. Loewe is absolutely my favorite brand. They're, I think, the only like big house, not everyone knows about them, so I use quotes. But like they're the only like big house that I think is still doing anything that's remotely exciting with every single show that they've done. And that goes for everything they've done this year. So I'm not going to quantify it with like, oh, well, autumn winter 22 was better than spring summer 23 versus the men's versus whatever. Everything they've done has been fabulous. And I would even sprinkle in a little bit of like J.W. Anderson, his own brand, is kind of carrying that same kind of energy. There's just a lot of surreal, very beautiful, and very interestingly constructed pieces. Currently now, he is in the act of making people kind of rethink like, what does luxury fashion look like? What does it mean? How serious do we take ourselves? And I think that's something that the fashion industry has needed for a while. A lot of our greats who push that kind of question are gone. And I think now having someone who's still young and attractive and creative to do this, I think is amazing. Spoiler alert, but I did indulge in something when I went on a trip recently from one of the runways, but you know, subscribe if you want to see. This next one happened at Milan Fashion Week, just actually very recently. Well, I guess not very recently, it's already winter, oh my god. You know when you're a kid and you're like, oh my gosh, when is it Christmas? It's taking forever. And then like you get old and then it's like time just flies by. That's happening to me. I'm old now. Okay, anyways, the next one I want to talk about is from a brand called, I do not know how to say it. I do not know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but it's literally all capital letters, AVAVAV. So it's either AVAVAV or AVAVAV or maybe some weird third thing that I don't know. So what they did was actually having their models, when they came out on the runway, they had them trip and fall. I think that's such an interesting concept. You have like these beautiful clothes, but then having this like almost like nightmare scenario on a runway. You never want your model to fall over because it shows like, oh, your clothing is unwearable or whatever, something like that. But then they did this and made it camp, and then made it so that when the photos were taken, you get this motion, you get this awkwardness, and it creates this tension when you're looking at the professional photos that I think you don't get in a lot of other runway professional photos. Oftentimes, clothes are presented very beautifully and very plainly, which I think, you know, is the goal of a successful runway show, but then for me, this adds character and builds to that brand image. I think it's so smart. I love that moment. And it's also just like funny watching people trip, so. The next couple actually happened in spring, summer 23. It's a little duo, which, what do you know? It's both about twins. So for Gucci Twinsburg, the whole idea of this runway of like you seeing one side of all these models, like walking, showing off the looks, and then a wall comes up and they're wearing the identical outfits. And you have this like identical twins, like constantly like on loop. It drove me insane. And like every once in a while, I'll be like sleeping or whatever, and I'll like wake up and I'll be like, identical twins. Identical twins. Also, the fact that like the whole like identical twins from Gucci Twinsburg came from like the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen song from like
Yes,
way
Glen,
back when
opposite.
they like used to like make
Utterly,
movies.
totally.
It's great.
Identical twins.
That's one of the reasons why I was obsessed. Am obsessed. And then you have, on the other hand, Sunnei. I also do not know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Sunnei. Sunnei, yeah. I read like a little blurb from an interview about how like the creative director like was talking about how they had this twin idea, and I think the idea got to Alessandro Michele and they felt disappointed that they like showed Twinsburg right before there, so there was less of the hype. But I do think it's like still very conceptually different. They had members of the audience walk onto the runway and then towards the back through a revolving door where their identical twin would walk out and be wearing a look. I know, you guys, I say like I hate gimmicks. I think gimmicks are overrated, but like this is also another really good gimmick. It doesn't have anything to do with like the product, but it's just the way it's delivered. I think it's fun. It's so stupid. We need to be more stupid in fashion. Like take ourselves less seriously, and that's I think one of the reasons why this is so great. And one of the things that is so interesting to me though is that you think like, oh, like I can't believe Gucci did it right before her with the identical twins whole thing. But then if you actually like take a step back like a couple, oh god, like 18 years, yeah, something like that. Back to 2004, we have the brand Undercover, where Jun Takahashi, that's the creative director, had a runway where he had identical twins walking down the runway together. One in a more kind of like straight-laced version of a look, and then one where it looks like a fever dream, like things are melting. They look like insane with like their makeup and hair and just the way that the look is done. Like things are like smeared. Okay, lean in. I think that's actually more an interesting concept than either Gucci Twinsburg or what Sunnei had done. I love the idea of like maybe you have like your more commercial version of an outfit and then this crazy version of this outfit. But like it's all to say like, time is a flat circle, things come and go and things come back around within our own lifetimes even, So it's just some food for thought. I thought it was really interesting when seeing this kind of conversation about like the whole twins thing, and then like finding the Undercover runway also used identical twins. So really, even though it had been done before, it still feels new, it still feels fresh, and it still feels interesting. So I think they should all give credit to themselves for that. This next one I wanted to talk about, I'm gonna just kind of like briefly go over it because it's more of a general sense, nothing super specific about it, but with the kind of official runway premiere of Glen Martens for Diesel for autumn-winter 22, I have to tell you, I was so enthralled and I was so excited. Seeing how he works with denim, I love denim. I don't know, maybe if you actually pay attention to what I wear, I have a lot of like denim overshirts. So for him to be like named creative director for Diesel, a brand that I actually used to buy a lot, and then I just kind of like, honestly, I got bored of it. But then for him to come back into this brand that felt kind of like tired and dated, like one of those brands where it's like people just kind of try hard by wearing it, and to inject this like excitement and like quirkiness and honestly more like uppercase D design, I think is so exciting. And it's not so much about this specific runway, although there are a lot of really beautiful, amazing pieces, like the shredded denim fur coats. But like just the fact that like there's so many exciting things coming from Diesel now. This is a brand I used to buy in high school. Like, what is happening? I feel like time's turning around. I'm telling you, time is a flat circle, but I'm still so excited to see, of course, what he continues to do with My Project, but also what he does with Diesel. It's one of the most optimistic things I am about when it comes to fashion. Similar to what I said about Glen Martens, I would be remiss, I say that a lot, but I like saying it. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Matthieu Blazy's debut at Bottega Veneta. With his debut for Autumn-Winter 22, and then having that like leather like shirt and jeans combo come out, and then even moving into Spring-Summer 23, having Kate Moss wear, again, a full leather outfit, but then it looks like super casual, comfy, like jeans and a plaid shirt, like I think it's just so amazing. And I find that it's very subtle, but there's a lot of humor that comes from that kind of thing, like that pillow bag, having these giant just intrecciato cubes that models are carrying down the runway, having these little like buckets on like a rope. I think there's a lot of interest not only in the humor, like I said, but in the craftsmanship behind these pieces. Having this like very precisely like printed denim on leather to create this kind of like trompe-l'oeil illusion, I think it's just so outstanding and so exciting. And I'm so excited to see what he has next, because I mean, I can't afford it because it's a little crazy, but it doesn't mean that I can't like admire still. So the last one, I think this one takes a bit more of a somber note, but with the passing of Virgil Abloh happening, it's already a year. I think I was just talking to a friend about this actually. I think it was like November 28th, right? For the Autumn-Winter 22 Louis Vuitton collection. While it wasn't directly Virgil's last collection with Louis Vuitton, and that the one before was the last one he like gave specific things about, this one like really had all of his touches and like ideas. I think it's just so sad, of course, but then it's also very beautiful. It's, I think, a nice way to say goodbye to a creative genius. Like, honestly, I don't care what you think of him, because for me, the way that he worked, like, sure, he wasn't a designer per se, but to be a creative director, to have this kind of clear, crystal clear vision, an ability to have like such a strong narrative, and sure, he may have had some flaws and faults when it came to like certain choices he's made, but you know, like, we're gonna have arguments about like whether something's done well, right, or wrong, no matter who it is. But I think to just kind of like say goodbye with like honestly a really beautiful collection, you know, like that kind of like weird like nostalgia feeling where it's like maybe you haven't experienced it before but it feels like you have. It's that kind of feeling, that kind of like bittersweet feeling. I don't know, that's why for me that was just, again, one of my favorites from this year. Okay, but then let's wrap it up. When you kind of like piece together all this little like post-it notes of my like serial killer like web of strings of like, what does all of this mean when you put it together? What I'm looking forward to most for next year is I want fashion to really stop taking itself so seriously. Like, leave that for like the crazy, insane rich people brands where they have $32,000 coats and just whatever garbage like that. I don't know, let's have more fun. There's been so much like interesting like shapes and silhouettes that maybe aren't flattering, but they're inspiring and different and new. I feel like Y2K is kind of on its like downswing, and I know Y2K does have like an innate humor built into it, or maybe it's just like being a millennial, like seeing it is humorous to me, but I don't know, I'm hoping for more like interesting construction, craftsmanship. I don't know if any of that made sense. But that is all I have for you today. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think I missed any runway moments? I know with like these list kind of things, like there's always going to be something that falls in the cracks. So if there's something you like really liked, let me know, because either it'll remind me, or if I didn't even hear about it, I'll definitely look it up, because I love watching this kind of stuff. But that is all I have for you today. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like this kind of content and that you too care about the design behind designer luxury. Until next time.
Two totally identical opposite, utterly different, opposite, identical, utterly, totally.
Please don't include that.
Identical twins.